to own their own destiny, but they can damn well push the envelope with a 2-0 against BBQ Oliver's, hapless at the bottom of the ladder. My question is, what's Griffin going to be playing today? Because they have been the team to innovate. The Teemo bot lane, of course. 2 games already shown by them on that pick. And they have a different read on pick and ban than most teams. I feel like they have their own read on the meta, and it can sometimes be a one-day read, and it can sometimes shape an entire league's meta. Let's wait and see what Griffin makes of the blue side. Game number 1, still patch 8.14, 88th best of 3 of the season.
And we know that Griffin absolutely love to play as a similar composition as possible game to game, no matter what the result was. Last time they had 4 champions in the same role each time. But as we go down the list, Griffin going to be banning away the Orianna and the Alistar to open things up, now followed by the Syndra. And we're going to have the standard ones from BBQ. What do they flex it into?
They're basically saying we want to first pick Ryze. The Tahm Kench priority on Griffin is very low, so you don't necessarily have to ban Tahm Kench against Griffin because they are 0-1 on the Tahm Kench, and they've shown no priority for it. It's a very powerful pick against basically any other team, and I do support not banning Tahm Kench, whether we see it picked up by Griffin or not.
Yeah, and I feel like Ignar isn't necessarily someone that screams Tahm Kench player either. We may actually see it go through, but nope, Griffin are giving it the priority that the patch would let us think it deserves.
It does allow Chovy to find, so it does allow Hens to find a victory on the pick before the season ends.
That's true.
If they're able to win this match, but only second game of Tahm Kench for Griffin comes in their final best of 3, their 18th. They were screaming out for a Ryze first pick, but they do choose to take the Tahm Kench over it, and that does leave Ryze open for BBQ.
Yeah, and it means that Griffin did all of the work so that BBQ could get a great matchup for the Ryze. No Syndra or Orianna to worry about. But still a lot on the board and a lot available for Chovy. Is Shen going to be snapped up by the looks of things, unless they want to go with something different here on the side of BBQ?
Might just be valuing going for their marksman pick early. A lot of Varus priority recently. Haven't been inspired by it, as some picks have really punished it in recent memory.
Yeah.
It is a very powerful duo laner, but I feel like Ashe kind of does it all. And Ashe Tahm Kench, to me, kind of the gold standard for utility, plus also that marksman flair. But we'll see if there's any priority on the Ashe from Griffin, because usually if they're going marksman, it's Ezreal or Kai'Sa. We'll see if they pick them up in the first round, or if it's back to the awesome dudes for Viper.
Yeah, Viper certainly has a lot of options. Chovy, this is one of his. We've said that his champion pool is under threat just a little bit, but this time around it will be his famous Zoe pick there in the mid lane. Played it so many times.
13th game, sorry, of the Zoe, 8-4. Do we see a first-round marksman from Viper or not? He's shown on the screen here. Chovy's pick.
I would like to see it. I think that locking down either Ezreal or Ashe is a good idea here, unless Griffin want to keep things open. But the Kai'Sa, like you say, has been his recent priority.
Just the way he goes, he likes going for the hard carry games. Looked wonderful against SK Telecom T1 on the Kai'Sa. So we'll be taking it, even though it can be very tricky for Tahm Kench and Kai'Sa to get out of lane unscathed.
Viper also showing a whole lot more very aggressive play on the Kai'Sa. I feel like a Kai'Sa play has evolved to using that killer instinct really as its name would suggest.
Well, Griffin is not going to use the blue side and this series against 10th place BBQ to try to artificially pump up the win rate of Tarzan's Trundle. 10-0 on the Trundle, but Trundle priority noticeably lower in recent series. We will see Trick jump on it here. Could potentially ban some junglers as well.
Yeah.
The Kindred is one that Tarzan likes to play, but I don't feel like it really fits with the ethos of what Griffin looked for from their jungle picks. I'd actually like to see them consider banning the Gragas, which right now, among LCK junglers, is seen as that true answer to the Trundle.
Yeah, haven't necessarily seen Tarzan on it, because he's been the Trundle in most of those matchups. As Kindred going to be that ban, and the follow-up is going to be Kennen on the side of Griffin, so they're going to try and get rid of some of the top laners that Crazy might play into Sword. Very interestingly, we know Sword is this tank player on the top side from Challenger, but his win rates are ludicrous on split pushes and damage dealers.
I think he's very good with lane priority, and it turned out by the end of 8.11 that Aatrox had lane priority on everyone, but
yeah.
I mean, honestly, he's probably the most reliable way to shut down Griffin, because he's been, of the 5 players, at least eye-catching in his performances in the second round robin, and if he's camped, like KT loved to do, he can be shut down. I love banning away the Gnar when you see a Kennen ban, because Gnar is his recent fallback champion. He played that in Challenger, he plays it in the LCK, and Gnar has been good for him. But finding him off comfort has been pretty decent way to rattle Griffin, and they've largely been unrattled in other games. For BBQ Olivers, we're looking for
Cho'Gath.
Likely the Cho'Gath for Crazy when it comes to win rates, especially, and it would be a takeaway from Sword as well.
Yeah, I think that's, if they want to punish Sword, I think this is the way to do it the most, but Morgana would give them a strong bottom lane duo. Ignar has been picking the Morgana up more and more often recently, and is a takeaway, I guess, to Lehens, but his pick's already locked in. Viper and Lehens now to pick the last remaining champions for Griffin. Will be a jungler and a top laner.
Cho'Gath Sejuani would be the pick comp, but also the synergy with Viper, with the ability to apply the plasma. And that's the sort of thing that Griffin have been doing in the past. But what about a change, Atlas?
Wow, okay.
We're seeing something into the Trundle that we don't usually see. The Graves is going to be picked up, and Graves has been few and far between on both games and victories outside of the early days of the season. So that's a bit of a change from Tarzan. Didn't want to go the Elise that he tried into Trundle. That was a failure against Jin Air. Final pick here for Griffin, most likely top lane.
I feel like Cho'Gath is really standing out. Would be 3 games in a row for Sword, but does fit the bill as Viper on his 3rd game in a row at least of the Kai'Sa at the same time. So Griffin with a very similar composition in style to what we saw against SKT. And now BBQ to figure out what their answer is into the Cho'Gath on the top side of the map. Not a lot of really great ones as the Jace and the Camille and the Kennen and the Gnar all banned away.
Go Mundo, try to farm it out.
Yeah.
Mundo available. We see a Caitlyn. Okay.
Okay, so that's a top lane Ryze. We've got a mid lane Varus, and that's Caitlyn and Morgana to try and hard punish the Kai'Sa lane. I don't mind this one. We saw the Caitlyn pick out of Teddy, and it actually worked out for Jin Air into the Kai'Sa.
Reason why it seems a little bit bootstrapped is that Ryze just finds a Cho'Gath with 1 magic resist item, most likely an Abyssal Mask, and it doesn't really have any kill pressure. The Cho'Gath does really well in this lane, and Ryze also, if his flashes down, just kind of dies, which can be a struggle. So this is definitely at the cost of Crazy's lane, but maybe, like you mentioned, there wasn't a much better option, so they just fall back onto the Ryze, and now you get Caitlyn Morgana against Kai'Sa Tahm Kench. That sounds like a slaughter.
It does. That could be a real rough one. Thanks very much to the Tryndamere quote there as well, Papa. Also, I don't know how the Varus into Zoe lane works necessarily. I feel like it could be volatile on both sides.
Well,
BBQ fans really raising their voices here today. We'll see whether it's actually going to help. Everyone in the Solis Stadium is trying to believe in them as Ignar fans and Temp fans there as well. We bring up BBQ onto the screen.
Ignar and BBQ have been this team that clearly has talent, but haven't been able to find any cohesion over the course of 18 best-of-3s. That's a lot of games, so that says a lot about internal struggles in BBQ. We don't have a window, but clearly none of the pieces have been working together and fitting together. The puzzle of what a championship team looks like is something we will only discover truly the best result of when the LCK Summer Final happens on September 8th. That's in a month from now. For now, at least, clear that the pieces haven't come together from BBQ, and with Damwon Gaming just smashing in Challenger right now. Only 1 game loss, 10 match wins, 0 match losses. Seems like BBQ's spot in the LCK for 2019 is looking very perilous.
It is certainly looking rough, and it might even be rough for that of MVP as well. As, unless they're able to take down KT, we'll also be in that promotion tournament. When you've got at least 1 fantastic team coming out of Challenger, also means that the next one can't be too bad either.
So let's talk about what BBQ did, because they did actually rewrite the script of the draft a lot with their final pick.
Oh yeah.
It was Caitlyn, and your first thought was Caitlyn top, and then you realize, okay, it's going to be Ryze top, we're going to slide the Varus into the mid lane. But the end result, if you think about it, has some merit. You think, okay, yep, Varus can just hang back and wave clear, that'll make sense. However, that's eventually. In the early game, he has to water attack. He's against a Zoe, and Zoe should have a lot of ability to control these waves and even potentially look for an all-in. Temp dropped the cleanse for heal in this game, so a certain gank timing from Tarzan might work. So and then in the top lane, the Cho'Gath actually has a lot of ability early to shrug off Ryze's low base damages, build into magic resist at 1 item, and even pre-1 item have set up CC for Tarzan to come up with some successful ganks. So I think there's actually really strong lanes in top and mid lane for Tarzan to jungle around. And while bot lane, definitely in terms of 2v2 on paper is a disaster, it's either strong lanes he can abandon and focus on bot lane, or strong lanes to snowball in mid and top, and just hope that Viper and Lehans can fend for themselves.
Yeah. Could potentially be a rough time here for Griffin, though, so I do like what BBQ have done for themselves. This Caitlyn versus Kai'Sa has always been very oppressive. Whether or not Ghost and Ignar can navigate this one effectively, it's not Ignar on the Alistar, which, you know, you probably would have a little bit more faith in, but certainly on a pick that he has played a lot of. And with double ranged versus Kai'Sa, Tahm Kench, it's not like Griffin are going to have the easiest time here in the early game, despite the fact that, at the moment, things are looking okay at level 2 and 3.
Issue you have as BBQ, though, is when it comes to strategies of how to play 2v2 lanes, and we've seen plenty of Caitlyn lanes in spring season, pushing is the most reliable one. You want to take the turret, accelerate the pace of the game. Caitlyn doesn't have the ability to bridge items that well. Stormraze is not super cheap on 814 yet. 815 is, of course, that big buff that we'll be seeing later. Hold the point for now, a Sword fishing for a rupture onto Crazy.
Yeah, really wanted to find that silence to allow him to land it. However, not going to happen, and the wave is going to possibly push back, actually, as it's going to crash a little bit earlier. Trick's going to turn up, and Sword thinks that he's in trouble, but Tarzan's going to move on over, and everyone disengages. Now looking for Crazy on the top side as Tarzan gets the minions out of the way and procs the electrocute. Crazy taking a lot of damage, and nothing Trick can really do, given his positioning.
Here is the low win rate we mentioned about the Graves. Hasn't been able to find too much success. Teams at the start of the season were trying the funnel with the Graves Braum, and that wasn't working either. And then we've seen last Graves we had was, I believe, Score on KT, playing it as one of the answers in one of the series that, so not Score actually, Score actually was the one who was playing it in the series loss that KT suffered not that long ago. So people have messed around with it, but it hasn't found any victories. Strong lanes to gank around though, hard CC, definitely what the Graves look for.
And right now, Sword looks like he doesn't even really need a gank, as he's very comfortable, up about 5 CS. Here on the bottom side of the map, not very comfortable. There's Viper and Lehans, but they're shoved under their turret over and over again. Tempt.
Nice trade.
Yeah, really, really nice. Chovy gets, I believe, a W-empowered Q to the face.
Something amusing about Tempt playing this Varus is if you think back to ESC Ever days, before the BBQ Oliver's name, Athena was the mid laner before into Tempt. Both of them noted mid lane Varus players. That was one of the calling cards of ESC
Varus
Ever.
and Azir, actually. Certainly the champions.
In general, if I think of ESC Ever, I think of mid lane Varus. It's a really big pick for them. Many moons ago. Of course, a lot has changed since then, but cool to see the Varus back, and seems to be nice command of the champion by Tempt.
Yeah, and I remember you were casting ESC Ever when they were over here, and then Athena moves over to the LPL, and then I had my shot at commentating a bit of Athena, and he moved over to definitely playing more of the Varus that season. Everyone was, but certainly Athena with a lot of ability to do so.
Right in the bench now, over in the LPL, but you know, that Athena definitely had a lot of fans back in the day. Seeing Trick just trundle around the bot side. Here are those mid lane ganks we mentioned.
Yep, Flash gonna come in, and that cleanse would have been pretty good, Tempt, but he doesn't even use the heal. The Flash is already down, and Griffin grabbed first blood in the mid lane. It's a disaster. Tarzan accelerated in the jungle, and Chovy already off to a great start mid.
And this is the priority in a Zoe lane that we very rarely see, because Zoe usually has to be first picked, and people come up with lanes that can do a lot more against the Zoe. This one goes the way of Griffin, set up by the lack of cleanse that we lamented at the start of the game. That's a strong lane you can gank around. That's a nice lead for Chovy.
And I guess you can understand what Tempt was thinking. It's like, I'm not against the Sejuani, there's no Ashe, you know, but Trouble Bubble needs to be respected. So you're against a Zoe, you want that cleanse anyway. Oh, man. Okay, well, Griffin pretty easily pick up that first blood. Good gank timing for Tarzan. And Tempt goes back, gets himself a control ward. So that's at least good news. Serrated Dirk has been completed as well, so at least his damage will need to be respected. Not going to go for the tier by the looks of things. Going to be once again the Ghost Blade into Dusk Blade of Drakthar, most likely. The CDR plus lethality.
There's a mask on the way from Sword. At least the blue buff is going to come up for Tempt, so we don't. It's not the bot lane, no mana-immune Varus that has struggled in some games. Trick gonna wait a little while here. He doesn't have any camps except for his blue buff on the bottom side. Pillar coming in soon.
Yep, there's the Subjugate as well. Sword is going to flash. Can they actually pick this kill up, though, is the question. The fadeaway Q from Crazy is going to do it up against Sword. He has teleport to get himself back down to the lane. It's not quite 8 minutes yet, so we'll be up pretty soon.
That was really well executed by Crazy, and he also held onto his flash. Important for the Rise, who flashes on the top side can't overextend for damage as much. The point I never got to in the bot lane is that pushing instead of freezing has very quickly become the meta with Caitlyn, so that Caitlyn can get through her poor item timings on 8-14 and just have a BF Sword of Berserker Greaves and a Dream, going for the push in mid and top. To do that, you have to push in. You can't deny the CS, and you'll notice no CS lead for the Caitlyn, even though there is an immense range lead for both the Caitlyn and the Morgana in the 2v2.
Yeah, it should just be like, as far as solo kills are concerned, you're going to give your money to that of Ghost and Ignar, but you're right, Viper's just been picking up minions underneath the turret, hence helping him out there. It's been pretty damn good. So, he's going to eat some grey health. Void Seeker not going to seek what it was looking for.
How's that back?
Yeah, Tempt is in a whole host of trouble. Remember, extremely gankable. I don't know how Chovy landed that one, but Tarzan just gets himself a free ultimate and free damage on this turret as well. Piercing Arrow, though, does need to be respected from the lethality that's already been built up by Tempt.
If you think about it, you don't have to change too many things for Bend It Like Chovy to be a pretty interesting movie.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, somehow that needle was threaded, so I completely understand.
It was a very kid-friendly movie, and Chovy's the youngest player
also
in the
had
LCK.
A beautiful message.
Exactly. All I'm saying is it's wholesome.
Yeah.
It's all about a young talent coming onto the scene. That was Keira Knightley. This time it's Chovy. So a couple of things changed, but still. Thinking about it, when you see quite a threading of the needle, as we saw.
I think it's a wonderful analogy, Papa. I absolutely agree with you. Blue buff, however, was unable to be stolen, so maybe we should hold off from really giving in to the analogy just yet. Tarzan going to find Crazy here. Will take a gigantic burst of damage. Trades back decently, but the Graves with the true grit, able to get things working. Crazy actually using the ultimate. Don't know whether it was entirely necessary. Gets himself to safety as we've got a dive happening underneath the turret as Ignar uses his stopwatch, but unable to get the kill here onto Lehans. Grey health is popped at exactly the right time, but still going to fall to Trick. As now Viper finds himself on the wrong side of the turret, and they juggled it beautifully. Double kill comes in for Trick, and Griffin falling down to BBQ in the early game.
I really like this punishment of the weak 2v2 on the bot side. Very well executed, like you mentioned. Chovy's poking around, but it's 1v3.
He's going to utilize the flash to try and get in. Finds the paddle star. There's the first kill. Can Chovy find any more? Speeds himself up. Ghost, he has to flash. Dark Binding's going to go wide. These fish, are they actually going to line up in the barrel? I think not. As Chovy's going to have to take just the one kill and move on, but gets a blue buff as well.
Execution really nice from Chovy, but only so much a Zoe can do with no ability power outside of a Doran's Ring. Well executed. They'll get the Rift Herald, but I do like what BBQ did. The turret juggling, as you so correctly called out, was the highlight of the play from BBQ.
And something they've struggled with for the whole season as well.
Think of their last Trundle games where they would try to turret dive someone with no minions and then just be either 1 for 0 or 1 for 2.
The 1 for 1 in 1v4 situations happen a lot.
So credit to them there. Also, with this action being not around the mid lane, it's finally AD values onto Tempt, where he can be even more non-interactive against the Zoe.
Not to mention having Ghostblade coming up. Pretty soon will add to his safety there in the mid lane. It's going to be very difficult. 1-0 and 1. Now for Chovy, who has a few stacks on his Dark Seal as well. Being said, BBQ are going to utilize their bottom side control that they do have in order to take this Infernal Drake. Griffin did take Shelly on the top side, so they are going to be able to continue shoving things forward. And that still hasn't been used, despite the fact that the turret was traded for the top outer. Went down earlier on for Griffin.
Well, it looks like Griffin are in a huge hole. They're down in gold against the worst team in the league. The reason why you shouldn't, stop the presses just yet is do recall that BBQ were expected to get an advantage around the Kai'Sa lane. Kai'Sa, Tahm Kench, definitely the dog 2v2 matchup into Caitlyn Morgana, one of the best possible 2v2s. Only way to rewrite this lane is get a Draven in there and make something crazy happen. Maybe Draven Nami could run over the Caitlyn lane, but otherwise, things are going to just be a bad time. Also, the word you used so aptly was trade. They're getting trades around the map, and they were able to get the Rift Herald. The CS is already good on the Kai'Sa. Usually, when you're against a draft like this, especially a bot lane draft like this, it's a 7-minute turret into also the team against the Kai'Sa getting the Rift Herald and being able to very quickly do a lot, Atlas. Very quickly inflict a lot of pain and a lot of a gold lead. This gold lead is likely to remain in parity because Griffin are the ones that actually control the Rift Herald.
And also, I just realized that the only way to stop a Zoe from going back to a portal jump is to eat her.
I saw a very worrying interaction on the top of interactions where Gragas can body slam and be golden during it. And actually the body slam registers damage. What? I was very troubled by it. It was on Reddit.
Okay, that's weird.
So, yep. We haven't seen that one happen in pro play, but that's definitely a...
that's a thing.
That's an interaction.
Not going to happen here this game because there's no Gragas. And if Tarzan's playing, generally there isn't. Because he just doesn't pick that one up as... Oh god, why are so many Siege minions being missed?
That's just what's happening. It's the week of life.
It really is.
Maybe the awareness programs for Siege minions have actually gotten results.
Or maybe it's just the other minions have realized that it's really important to last hit Siege minions and they're learning, so they're really going for it.
I prefer to think of an outreach program.
Yeah,
Summoner's Rift education for Siege minions. Finally paying off dividends.
Well, our LCK players are certainly not reaping the rewards of that one.
I mean, situationally, we have to have tax awareness ones for Malzahar and Skarner days.
Hey, that's true.
Viper trying to freeze as if it's 2014. Change his name to Flame, and who knows?
Well, he was 3 creeps ahead at that point in time. That's not quite the 100 that Flame made his name for.
The Flame Horizon can be enacted at any time, Atlas.
Hey, that's true. That's true. He can grab one at 50 minutes, and we'll see whether Ghost gets bullied away from minion waves. At that point in time, Griffin, known for being pretty good at the late game, you might say, Pop Smithy.
Of course, the freezing play stopped when people realized that you can do stuff elsewhere on the map with your bonus person.
Yeah. Weird, man.
Also deleted the Ignite top laner and replaced it with Teleport. A problem still affecting the balance 4.5 years later.
Yeah, Teleport needing a nerf, but still taking on 80 carries even afterwards.
Hey! Okay. Nicely done by Tricky. Interrupted the Rift Herald summon there with the Flash Pillar.
And also got the Black Shield so he could just wander away. Very nicely done.
Very lazy from Tarzan. Feels like Griffin are just approaching this one like they should win. Absolutely, that's the right way to think, but it's very heartening to see BBQ fully in the game, definitely not looking past it, and looking competitive for the first 15 minutes.
Well, Tempt. Oh my god, if that had have landed, that Paddle Star, and Tempt would have definitely died, but extraordinarily close. Chovy didn't go to the gym yesterday. He was supposed to do arm day, but he didn't, so couldn't throw the Paddle Star quite long enough.
They have a marksman in order to clear this mid lane turret.
They've got Lehens on the Tahm Kench to make sure that no one's going to get picked off. So pretty easy just to sit up here in Siege, despite the fact that Tempt's line wave clear is pretty damn good.
And in the realm of reality, Griffin are just pulling the sleight of hand. Can you guys just distract until I have 2.5 items on my smurfing Kai'Sa situation? That's kind of what the approach to this game is, but whether it works or not, it does worry you about matches against early action teams like KT Rolster, who already have a good matchup into Griffin, because Griffin are really, once again, waving the white flag with a Kai'Sa draft. They were happy to take the Tahm Kench Kai'Sa and say, we'll win eventually, and whether that's true or not today, to me, it's not the best sign coming into best-of-5 playoffs.
Yeah, and while we have a look at total damage dealt, BBQ are certainly destroying that one everywhere. In fact, in every single role. No worries there at all. Absolutely fantastic stuff from them so far. But yeah, I'm glad you bring up KT, because also they were one of the first teams to start playing Kai'Sa outside of a funnel in this particular season, but they did so by winning lanes on the top side of the map and then letting that one just do its thing on the bottom side.
They were also judicious at the start about when they chose the Kai'Sa, and they are so good with lane priority, and every player in their team can play all the aggressive picks, so they will get priority in places. Griffin have been able to get some priority in the mid lane, but the Varus has reached the time when he can do things like this and gets very annoying. they're not able to actually increase the pace of the game in other areas. In hindsight, taking the Graves here has actually given them something to work around, because at least Graves plus X is a lot of power in the 2v2 early. But these freezing plays have never really been a thing in League of Legends for the past 4.5 years for a reason. And teams better than BBQ will get a bigger objective lead, you'd have to assume, against Griffin.
Well, Griffin right now have absolutely no priority in vision on the bottom side of the map. This Infernal Drake going to be immediately started, but somehow they snuck a ward into the back of the pit, meaning that it's not going to be quite as useful. Teleport is going to come in. Griffin looking for their first team fight. It is going to be the Drake taken by BBQ. Double Infernal has come down. Griffin just going to utilize their Cho'Gath on the top side to try and get something. Flash is gained out of Ignar because the Trouble Bubble landed.
So a lot of respect. Maybe just press tab and so the item timings gave it up. Speaking of giving it up, pushing in the mid lane, but minion wave starting to thin out.
Chovy, though, is so damn good. He just seems to have a magnet on that Trouble Bubble. But one more auto attack and that turret will be taken down. 6 health is just a breath. And that one's done. A few more autos here from Sword. Should be able to get rid of it, but I respect Ghost. Ability to shoot at him while he's trying to get away. And also the complete lack of vision that they had around the area. Cheeky little control ward there, but should be taken from Ghost, who has to flash to get out of the way of Sword for some reason.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Didn't quite see it on screen, but I saw the summon spell go on cooldown, and Sword's going to have to flash himself as 3 members do get up there towards the top side of the map.
I guess there was a rupture and he was afraid of a 1 rotation from the Cho'Gath. Hashtag no context.
Having the Abyssal Mask as well means that you do have to respect him a little bit earlier than you would otherwise. The scaling nature with health of the Feast is certainly a good point, but the Rupture actually hurts if he's in range.
The Observer did mouse over the flash cooldown to remind us that it was in off-the-screen action.
Yeah.
Off the screen, Viper still farming, again looking for the Rage Blade and the QSS before he's going to be teamfight ready in this game. Needs both, because Varus, Morgana, and Ryze is a lot of reliable CC to try to juke.
Yeah. He's at least got the Q cooldown, the Q upgrade. Not sure whether he's upgraded the Supercharger just yet. Don't know whether Double Daggers is able to do it. Not quite.
Not just yet, I believe, but working on it.
BBQ continuing to have control here on this bottom side of the map.
I wonder how the nerf will affect things on the next patch, because it's going to be 65 AD on the Storm Razor on 8.15.
Yeah.
That'll be only 90 AD with the pickaxe.
But it's much cheaper. True path a lot easier there as well. So.
I think for Kai'Sa it's a direct nerf, but for all the crit AD carries it's a buff, and maybe it just pushes crit Kai'Sa onto the board rather than necessarily indexing as much on the Rage Blade.
Lehen's a little bit late there to stop the damage to come in from the ultimate in from Ghost. Hasten the hold's going to register. Chovy's going to go back home, meaning that Griffin will need to spend some time trying to stop this siege. Bot lane out of turret, probably going to be the next option here, as collateral damage looked like Tarzan jumped into Lehen's mouth, but it's a lot of poke to come in onto the Graves.
Lethality Varus does laugh at Graves, because Graves tries to wave clear in medium range, and Varus has immense range going the lethality build.
Also immense amounts of farm. Tempt is very close to 2 items here in the mid game.
Well, this siege is, pretty obscene. Never really put those 2 and 2 together, but now that you have Varus and Caitlyn, best of luck with this scenario.
Yep. Set up the traps and then set up the arrows. And it's a very dead outer turret in the mid lane. It's going to get more difficult to siege as they have to move further and further towards the Griffin base. However, they can just set up like that. It will be very rough times for Griffin.
And look, meanwhile, Viper's been farming in a side lane. And again, he's going to reach those items that looked kind of fickle that he would ever reach based on the champ select and the difficult lane he's in. But then Griffin will have a 2.5 item Kai'Sa who's going to have to execute perfectly in a team fight to win the team fight. Yeah. If those things don't all happen, every other kind of case in the game, barring a Lucky Smite steal, they lose, because they're not going to have ability to sneak a Baron against this much Baron control, and also just sheer amount of priority that the BBQ draft provides. They're going to have to enact team fights at a very specific window, and even then BBQ could out-execute, and that's why a draft like this that's really at the whim of the enemy team making mistakes in either warding or play pattern or degree of execution and aggression is a sort of draft I'm not a huge fan of because it feels like in more cases than not, BBQ Olivers should win.
And they should be winning by a fair bit right now as well. So we have a look on paper. It's not necessarily the scoreline that you want as a team with BBQ's comp, because the laning phase should have been absolutely fantastic. However, Viper has been able to farm. Yes, he still will need to execute perfectly, blah, 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 blah. But things have gone better than they should have in the early game. So Griffin fans, certainly keep your heads held high.
If BBQ got a Baron, this game would be just disgusting. Can you imagine
as
Graves trying to
over.
work? Where does Graves stand when he's against Baron buff Caitlyn Varus?
Elsewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He tries to proxy minion waves, I guess,
I think
because literally nowhere for him to go. I guess you ult the minion wave and hope for the best. Guys, I did my best. Well, the siege will continue. The hands is going to try to stop it, but in the top side, BBQ just protecting for Caitlyn to do the dirty work.
Yep, should be able to do so as well. Voidseeker going to be able to grab Viper, the cannon minion, but it's not going to be enough to save this turret, most likely. Super Soaker also not going to come in, as you got a Ghost Power hanging out there in the Tri-Brush. But Griffin had to just watch. Abyssal Voyage going to be utilized here into the mid lane. As Crazy, is the CC going to be there? No, it's not. And nope, not even going to be able to land the Trouble Bubble, meaning that he survives the Paddle Star, zooming in on the cute little caster minion that suffered the wrath of that Trouble Bubble.
Honestly, that was really smart from Crazy. He brought the minions in. Whether that was opportunistic or on purpose, the minions gave him plenty of ways to dodge the Paddle Star's full impact and the future Trouble Bubble as well. So nicely done by Crazy, who would very much like some farm, but for now being respectful before he gets it.
Looks like Tarzan should be able to help Sword take down this outer turret on the bottom side of the map. Like you say, playing respectfully and also respecting Trick, who's moving his way over. Nara as well with his Black Shield. Everyone hanging out towards the bottom side, meaning that BBQ will be able to hold onto this outer turret very easily. They take the top outer for free, and that's not a trade. That's not what we're talking about. It was good for Griffin in the early game. This is just BBQ straight up winning. And they're going to continue doing so. Their first Cloud Drake of the game, but their third is going to come in here about 24.5 minutes. And Griffin have got nothing in response.
Does feel as a meta point, like the meta that playoffs will be played upon really does kind of work against how Griffin have found most of their victories, and especially how they're playing now that the Awesome Dudes are gone. Because with the Awesome Dudes, Viper at 2 items on Vladimir could do things. He could initiate, he's got a Proto Belt, he's got a Spellbinder, press your buttons, you can be an initiator. Now, after their early game and their penchant to draft for team fights at the cost of lane priority is being codified in this marksman meta, we're getting a lot of games in Korea right now decided by 1-3-1 with Ryze in the mid lane. Very, very commonly Ryze, Tahm Kench drafts. And also without team fights, because the 1-3-1s are likely to be about the rotational play rather than necessarily about the ability to outplay in the late game team fight. If you draft like this and don't get to late game team fights, you definitely lose, Atlas. All Griffin can hope for are those 2.5 item Kai'Sa team fights. Will team fight execution be enough for Griffin to win LCK Summer 2018? If it remained at 8-11, 8-12, 8-13, and they could either run Ezreal or something like a Vladimir, maybe yes. But now, with the meta we're seeing, if we see this Griffin drafting like this again in playoffs, you have to think no, because the meta has rolled on.
It has moved past what Griffin seemed to think. That's exactly right. Chovy can get booped back. Ace in the hole, though, is going to get soaked by the Banshee's Veil, but they did want to get rid of that one. Trick taking a lot of damage, actually, as the Trouble Bubble does land, meaning that Griffin will this time be able to defend, but good God, Tarzan just taking so much damage. Thankfully, gifted a redemption was Chovy.
He was 2/3 health, even though the second Q was actually through 2 allies first, so...
Dang turret. It's been staying up for so damn long.
It's seen a lot of things. It's definitely lived a long life.
Yeah, but it's a bit weathered, as the ultimate is going to land in La hands instantly. Picks up Chovy as it lands as well. I was expecting the Tahm Kench to actually get caught by that, but thankfully, based on that timing, he's able to walk away.
Waiting for a Kai'Sa Cho'Gath super outplay team fight. That's really how Griffin will find their way back into this game.
And if they lose one, I feel like it's going to be one of the nails in the coffin of Griffin in this game as well. They almost have to win that next team fight.
Which will be the only true one of the game. Again, this is what happens when you draft in this way, and it was definitely taken to the next level by BBQ. Was skeptical of the Cho'Gath, but should have, of the rise into Cho'Gath, but should have focused on Caitlyn Varus with a winning early game. Difficult to do that when BBQ have not been able to put their piece of the puzzle together. And speaking of puzzles,
and BBQ have actually caught out the idea here. 3 members actually waiting, but Tarzan's going to turn up. Gets some relevant damage as Tempt comes in as well. Doesn't quite have the ultimate back off cooldown as Lehen somehow survives the ace in the hole. Teleports coming in from both sides. Griffin will get the backup, but you can see Tempt. He really wants this one. All 4 members actually coming in on top, but Chovy just gets rid of Lehans, and in goes Viper. Gets the killer instinct and picks up the kill as well as Sword. Plays the front line, and Griffin, they found their team fight. It's a dead Kaiser, but who damn cares? It's an ace for Griffin with this team comp, and that is unheard of. Triple kill for Chovy.
The Realm Warp into the end was a party warp, Atlas. They all lined up, and
One could
BBQ
say it
Olivers.
was a crazy play, Papa Smithy.
It certainly was, and what did we say about the draft? We said, as long as Griffin don't win a team fight, there's nothing they can do. That's the only way they can get back in. BBQ give them the uneven team fight with low health members with the Realm Warp. Griffin say, thank you very much. They can definitely still win this game. It is still one of our joint rank 1 teams against our rank 10. Griffin showing that if they get the team fight, they are dead.
It's definitely not making them look fantastic for their playoff run. However, in this game, that team fight was still absolutely stunning. This Abyssal Voyage was well read by BBQ, but after that, it wasn't a good news story for the intelligent play of our 10th
The
place
Hens
team.
actually took the ace in the hole and fell down to what? Maybe 15 health, maybe less? From here, you can definitely disengage. As BBQ can say, well, you've done it. Here comes the Realm Warp in. They all opt into the AoE CC from Cho'Gath, who's not going to hit that reliably. Of course, the killer instinct still up. It wasn't used at the start of the fight. And yeah, this was a botch by BBQ.
Ghost at least manages to trade, but that's the only kill that they managed to pick up this particular fight. And give Chovy the Zoe at your own peril. Seems to be the adage here. He's 4-0-3, 7-4 is the scoreline. And yes, that means 100% kill contribution to the famous pick for the mid laner of Griffin. KDA is going to be going up 7 points, Papa.
I'm triggered because I'm pretty sure it's adage, but I'll let you say adage.
Adage.
Well, the only adage I know is Adagio Summoners from Sona.
Maybe that's why I said it. I did recently play
I'm not
Sona.
okay with you saying adage.
Okay, fair enough. Well, at least
I'm not okay with the Zoe damage in the last team fight either.
I can have adage and you can have non-floost. How about that? Can we have that trade?
I never said that on broadcast. No.
I swear we had this conversation.
Off air.
No, that was today. But I mean, in a previous conversation on air.
Well, Griffin has the Baron that they never should have gotten, and that's pretty annoying because now the Zoe does extra damage.
She does. Ace in the hole once again going to come in, but Tarzan is not going to worry about it too much at this stage. And Griffin, yes, they don't have the siege composition necessarily, but they've now got the Baron. And BBQ look hapless against the gigantic Void monster lumbering towards them.
Siege comps with Baron, oppressive Siege comps against Baron. They fall apart.
They do. A lot of options here as Chovy. There's a lot of fish in this barrel that he's able to just throw paddle stars at. Inhibitor turret on the top side of the map goes down extraordinarily low. Crazy split pushing on the bottom side, doing a fair bit of damage actually to these turrets, and there's 3 items on Ghost, which means that the Caitlyn does a fair bit of damage. Doesn't matter. They're up against this Baron, and now a 5,000 gold lead that's only looking to extend as the game goes on. Void Seeker avoided there by Ghost, good sidestep. But the first inhibitor is going to go down. That'll only make things more and more difficult for BBQ. The early game so nicely. The inhibitor turret going to fall down on the bottom side though, as now Griffin will need to think about going back home. Powered recalls available for 4 members as Abyssal Voyage is going to be utilized by Lehens. He wants to try and get rid of Crazy, but he's got Realm Warp. He's going to be able to get out.
Yep, hunting for the kill, but Crazy, like you mentioned, and held on to that cooldown, will easily escape. Seems like that great early game will be in vain. At the end of the piece, 3 lethality items complete onto Tempt. The game isn't about a siege anymore. It's definitely opened up in a big way. Gold lead here for Griffin is around the 3,500 mark. The items are rolling in for the Kaiser. One more team fight will do it. And Griffin have definitely been bailed out. Feels like they got the government bailout in some ways. Don't know if they earned this one, but a nice team fighting. We have seen as a standby of Griffin from our tenure with them in the LCK. Now enjoying our 18th best of 3 with Griffin in the LCK. has been top-notch, and they were able to execute when they needed to. And now for BBQ, if they can't find a way to pick Viper, it's going to be very tricky for them to get back into the game.
And it's a little bit sad that Griffin are probably going to win this game as well, because you'd want them to learn from an experience like this to never make that drafting mistake again. However, if they win, they might just say, well, this was actually great. It won, so obviously it's good. But it wasn't. It was way too dangerous, and a lot of other teams would have certainly punished them and won the game.
I think that's a really good point to bring up, because that happens in a lot of places, in terms of macro decisions, in terms of drafts, in terms of lineups.
Yeah.
There's many lineups that have stayed together one split too long because they won, or because they got the minimum expectation at the end of the season they were looking for. So I'm definitely there. They can make us look the fool and improve over the course of a couple of days when they play their next match. But given that BBQ have been largely this team all year in Challenger and not, it is something that I think the best teams will look at and feel good about. And speaking of feeling good about things, Viper looking for an assassination.
Well, he's going to have all of his friends join him as well. As Crazy misses the first Q and he's going to die. That is just how it's going to work. Viper delivered another kill. And Griffin should be able to run this one towards that inhibitor like they were looking at earlier on. Vision still to be cleared, but Tarzan, he'll take a Krug camp first. Now with the man advantage, should be Griffin able to actually siege.
4v5, yes. There's definitely a siege they win. The Zoe obviously going to be uniquely powerful there. The rest of the champions, not so much. Griffin roll in. Attempt not doing half health anymore, and there is going to be a bit of stain coming through on those minions.
Another redemption being picked up. Triggers me every time. Dang luck of these Zoes. BBQ do have the trap wall, which is a tough one to get through as this Griffin comp, because who's going to take them? I guess whoever's got the Banshee's Veil. Sword's just going to walk his way around. Remember, base is already broken. Means they don't actually have to respect that particular trap line. Inhibitor going to take the focus fire, but don't want to bait Griffin into a team fight. It's a trick. Might have actually started this one. Subjugate is down onto Sword. That is a great move as Viper jumps into the backline as Ignar flashes into the Soul Shackles, but the stopwatch is going to be answered by Viper's own, and he's not going to get stunned. BBQ not going to actually die here, but they're down extremely low, and there's super creeps in the base. Continuing to siege in. Nexus turret number 2 going to go down. BBQ, you have to start a fight right now if you want to stay in this one. And Griffin aren't going to try and take down the Nexus, but 2 inhibitors down, no Nexus turrets remain, and BBQ hanging on.
Health bars start to fall low. The Warmog's not enough. They back away, and BBQ will get one more fight. Or will they, given they have had the inability to actually force things at the end. Look at this also. Griffin looking for a pick. They get the trouble bubble. Killer Instinct not available for Viper.
I believe Trick just picked that one up off the corner. There's a face check, and there's a very dead Ignar. One of the dangers of being Morgana as Chovy is going to find another Paddle Star, and you thought Trick was tanky. You were wrong. Not when it's Chovy that's going to be throwing these Paddle Stars at him.
Extra
and
value.
Still, 100% kill participation from Chovy.
And extra value also on the pick from Chovy. 5-0 and 4, as you mentioned, Atlas. It's Baron time, so they overstay. They get the pick, and now they're going to turn on to Baron, and there's no way Trick can come in and steal this one away.
Yep, even managed to get Trick low as well with that Paddle Star that I was saying was pretty filthy damage. All too easy as Swords. Feast does more damage than Spite at this stage of the game, level 18 on the Cho'Gath. He's been quietly just hoovering up minions and having a great time. As the Cho'Gath now is the immovable object, and despite the fact that Crazy is extremely strong on the rise, it just is not enough.
Very easy for the Cho'Gath to itemize in a way that Rise is going to be a 50-50 lane for him. And when it comes to Baron plays, Griffin were tunneling on. Good Baron damage from Kai'Sa and the Graves, and Secure from the Cho'Gath. It gives them that extra dimension. Would it have ever mattered if the sieges had been perfect from BBQ? No. But Griffin have been able to harness the game they've been actually dealt, the hand they've been dealt. They've been able to make the most of it. Viper will push up in the bot side. 2 minutes 40 of Baron. The Nexus is naked. There's no inhibitor turrets around it, or no Nexus turrets either. But it seems like they
from Temps either.
They just want to take some objectives though, Atlas. They're going for the tutorial victory, even though the front door is open.
Yep, bottom inner turret is going to fall down. Like you say, it's all too easy to grab them, as Realm Walk is actually going to be utilized here, but not actually taken by Crazy. They want to just get rid of Sword. Gargoyle Stoneplate eventually does come in as Chovy. Gets rid of them, but okay, Abyssal Voyage to win the game. That's one way to do it, and that's going to be that. Game over. Griffin.